Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Shared Housing Alliance. I have co-host Julie on. Julie, how are you?
I'm very good.
Awesome. So let's get started on part two of this segment, which is the power of nonprofits for real estate investors. Last week, we talked about if you are a real estate investor and you want to get into the nonprofit space, we offer a paid class. People can go to housesforchange.com if they want to look at what that includes, and they can actually click on the class link if they want to see the screen that we're looking at, which is part of the curriculum. And the reason that we're doing this second segment on this is because when we opened up that last conversation, I had mentioned that getting government grants can be difficult in the way that one, you have to read the grants that are available. Well, I guess first you have to find the grants, and two, you read them and then you apply for them. And it's a lot like applying for a loan, except for you don't have to pay the money back. So that's the whole yay, yay, hip, hip, hooray on having a nonprofit is you reduce your expenses by having a nonprofit, and therefore your cash flow goes up. And there are easy grants, which are things like TechSoup, where you give them your tax identification number and you're just granted right into all of their discounts. And then inside of TechSoup comes a lot of other types of valuable granted technology. And one of those is actually going to be Grant Station. Now, I mentioned on the opening of the last class that the grant analysts who give the money and the grant writers who apply, normally that's how the term is used. A grant writer is somebody who we as investors, or if we are the CEO of a nonprofit, we could hire a grant writer to basically apply to all of these grants that are available. Now, this is a blue ocean. For anyone who's listening, there are so many grants that it becomes overwhelming, which is why we're going to continue this conversation, because a lot of investors who open up a nonprofit, and we actually do in our paid class on class number 11, we tell you an attorney that you can go to and he'll set up your nonprofit. In fact, we have a couple attorneys. So, we just want you guys to make an informed decision. You can Google online as well for nonprofits. The point is that it's just like setting up a corporation, except for you then apply for a 501c3 designation, a lot like applying for an S Corp election. And once you have that special designation for tax purposes, that is what a lot of companies who are going to give you money, they're looking for two things. One, that you were formed as a nonprofit. And two, do you have a 501c3 designation or not, or some other kind of designation? And you get that through an attorney normally who's fluent with writing those kinds of documents. Once you have that tax identification number, you can start, increasing your cash flow and meaning reducing expenses, and also increasing your income by lieu of money coming in through, these grants. So it's twofold. And I'm not going to give away any information that the people pay for in our class. We want you guys to take the class because it helps your community and it helps you, but also it cuts your learning curve substantially. Don't try and just go and do this on your own, because we don't want you to get burnt out and give up because you can't cash flow a house, or you don't get the right insurance, you can't get insurance, or you don't know the right attorney, you can't get a residence in your house, you don't know how to get houses. And that's what you're looking at On the screen here are the last 4 classes are actually the most important ones. So make sure that you take those if you purchase the class. And now let's get on to Grant Station. Julie, before I get into Grant Station, because you're a real estate investor, do you have any questions about what I just went over?
No, my only added thing is, a lot of times we as investors, we hear about how great it is that, the profit margin's higher or some of the other things that you deal with. It's a better deal, right? So we go towards it and we don't get that background in the education. We don't get our ducks in a row, and then once we get into a problem, we lose everything. And that's, and we also call that a loss, right? So I think for the amount that you have to invest in this class will help you from having those issues, and especially right away, because you will be forming those things right and you will be able to get a lot further quicker. So that's my take on the class, and the fact that I know I've had experience from the grant side, and not necessarily, I'm not talking about nonprofit, because obviously that's what we're talking about here, but I'm talking about just in general, either for like a rehab grant or low income grant, that they are competitive, and that they are very confusing and hard to navigate. So I think by you giving these tips helps people get through some of that frustration, and kind of like brick wall feeling where you don't want to go any further.
I hope so. I don't know who said this quote, but slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And when we're dealing with money, a lot of money, meaning that you want to build a legacy and you're trying to do that with real estate. And now you're going to go and level up because now you want to work with people who are giving you money. You have to just be cognizant that you're building something. It's a long-term goal, and we all know this. And if you're doing nonprofits, hopefully you have a true passion for helping maybe foster children. If they're under age 18, I think that your risk is considerably higher. And so we need to have another conversation around that. And if you're dealing with adults over the age of 18, even the pocket of 19 to 30, I think there's a different conversation around that because of where they're at in their lives. And then if you're dealing with, 31 to 50 and 51 and up, I think that you start seeing different things. And Julie, you're being a police officer. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. And I think too, just staying on the topic of grants and stuff, I think there are different organizations and there's different places that you can go for help with those specific, age groups that you were talking about, and different
And the reason that I bring that part up as it relates to nonprofits and grants and housing is because in our class, we're going to ask you to identify your population so that way you can be real clear with who you have a heart for and who you would like to welcome into your real estate. And then the money, the blue ocean of money that the United States government gives out to the mayors, and the mayors give out to other people. And then there are private grants as well. And so let's talk about Grant Station. What Grant Station does is it emails when you have a nonprofit, and you sign up for TechSoup, or you don't have to go through TechSoup, but you can just go directly to Grant Station and buy a membership. You do have to be a nonprofit. So I know I said that, but I want to say that again. You need to have that tax identification number. You're going to start getting these emails probably about once a week, and you can pick out what grant that you want to apply for that is specific to your mission. And so if you're dealing with veterans and military. I'm not sure if you're doing arts inside of your shared houses, but actually people do that for therapy. So that is something to consider. You would have to read the grant and see if your program inside of your house works for that. If I'm not sure, again, you just have to take a minute to read it. Again, it's like applying for a loan, so it's going to take about as much time. Some of these grants can be very easy to apply to. LegalZoom, actually, if you were just to if you've ever used LegalZoom before, or if you were to go over to them and maybe they become your registered agent or something, then they would send you grants as well to your email. And there are a few for $10,000 every year that you literally just drop the name of your nonprofit and the tax identification number and your bank account number. And then if they like what you're doing, they just drop the money in your account. That's it. It takes all of 5 minutes. So Julie, you had asked previously if these grants that are available are super competitive. And my answer would be that when you're going through GrantStation, that it is not nearly as competitive when you're a nonprofit as when you are not a nonprofit.
Yeah, and that's where, we say, hey, if I like you were talking about that LegalZoom, if I just drop my tin into the pool, how many other applicants are they looking at? How many other people are actually trying to obtain that grant or going for it? And I think obviously if everybody was putting in for it, the chances would be it's like, playing the lottery. But I really think that, since nonprofits are with mission and they have certain things that we, are trying to achieve to make our society better, that we do get this free money and that we don't have to pay it back.
Agreed. Having that nonprofit tax identification number, having a mission, having a heart for this kind of thing, and knowing that it's going to take some time. And it's just like building a real estate business, except for now you have this additional benefit and you're helping your community. It doesn't have to be your entire portfolio of real estate. Maybe you just pick out some single families in a highly populated area where you know that there's a need. And by taking our class, again, the reason we did the class was out of need, because we saw real estate investors were struggling to figure this out. And we have been able to endure, and our beds are full and cash flow positive, and we've stayed that way for a while. And so we just thought we really have to share how we got to that particular point, because getting to that point and through the weeds where now you can apply for, let's say, 1 grant a week or 1 grant a month is where we want to get you. So that way we can all help, again, the population that you want to help. So if that's veterans, or, there's so many different populations, right? Human trafficking, there's battered women, there are men that are divorced. Just so you guys who are listening right now, a lot of men contact us through Craigslist, or they did in the beginning. We don't have any openings, so we're not advertising any beds. And we'll actually have to get into shelter registry maybe more as this progresses. But you guys, it is a blue ocean, and we're here to help you. And there are exemptions in these grants, just so you guys know. That's what I wanted to talk about, is that if you come up against something inside of the grant, it's almost like coming up against something inside of a loan application, like you're a little bit outside of the loan to value, for example, because your appraisal came in a little bit short or low, and you're trying to find a way to make that loan work. Me being an underwriter, I'm always looking for, okay, well, there probably is a way to make that work. And so inside of these grants, a lot of times if you keep reading their guidelines, you'll see like, oh, okay, I don't need to have that particular thing. I actually can have an alternative to offset the risk. And where other people give up, if you don't give up, guess who gets the $50,000 that they don't have to repay?
Right. And that's where, like I said in the beginning about taking the class and about, wanting to give up right away because you feel like, okay, this is another, it's like one after another after another. When you start reading some of these grants, you think to yourself, how am I going to qualify for this or whatever? But Yeah, there are things inside there that are in the fine print that you can find that you will qualify despite what some of the beginnings of the description were.
All right, so we're going to close it out here. This is katieshousefoundation.org. This is our nonprofit, and it runs alongside some of our other companies. If you guys would like to sign up for our class, you can head over to katieshousefoundation.org and you can scroll down to the bottom and you can actually see, you can purchase the course, or you can view the curriculum. You can also go to housesforchange.com, and the course is about $2,000. If you email Julie, I think, Julie, you have a coupon code if you want them to email you, right?
Yes, I do. Place me at katieshousefoundation.org. And we can also put a link in the comments below, and make any comments or ask any questions below too. We love to hear from you.
Sounds good. If you guys appreciate this video, please like and subscribe, and we will talk to you next week.